Welcome back. I've been thinking about the idea of a thought experiment. In a way, I think you can say that any film is a thought experiment. Maybe if we extend it all the way out, at least in my fatigued musings this morning, the entire film festival is a thought experiment. That being said, we take photographs and videos and call them memories. But in one of the most anticipated films of this year's Sundance Film Festival, we will take it much farther, much farther. I am excited to be here with the screenwriter, correct, screenwriter, yes, and director of Rememory. This is Mark Palansky. Good morning, how are you?
Good morning, how are you?
I brain farted for just a second.
Yeah, it's okay.
Pretty sure
co-writer.
I
wrote it with another writer, so co-writer.
Very good, very good. How are you?
I'm very good, how are you?
I'm well, I'm a little tired, but as you were saying, with having been in town for an entire week and premiere tonight, there are some exercises in patience and different
There are exercises in patience, but it's also been, nonstop go since I've been here. So, seen some films and, had some interviews and meetings and all that stuff. It's been fun.
Good for you. Let's talk a little bit about the idea for this story. I thought a lot about how a photograph in the context of this thought experiment is such a tiny infinitesimal thing to say, well, yeah, it can be a jumping off point, but it really is to our memories, which are so much more than what that photograph or video captures.
Yeah, I mean, it's, when I first had the idea for the film, which was just to kind of go back into your memory as an adult, or into your past as an adult and stand in that space, I hadn't done any research on memory yet at that time. I've since done a bunch of memory research and I really discovered that our memories are completely inaccurate. They're completely flawed, and most of our memories actually are formed around photographs. So we think we remember our 6th birthday, but it's really based on the photograph of our 6th birthday, and then we our brain kind of extrapolates from that rather than you actually having the memory of it. So it was kind of it was sort of a revelation to kind of keep reading and researching and learning about just how completely filtered and I guess corrupted is a stronger word, but it's more that we write our own stories via our memories rather than them being accurate representations of what happened. So this film sort of explores a bit of that.
And that process of recharacterizing, was that where it became more fascinating for you to think, okay, well, my record, you have your life of records. Like, wow, maybe.
I mean, I think the whole thing really was fascinating to me. I mean, memory was it's a fascinating jumping off point, and they're incredibly cinematic. Memories are cinematic. When you have, because they can be really just evocative little glimpses of something from your past or something really powerful. Whether it's something like your first kiss or your first breakup or whatever it is, it kind of kept becoming more and more fascinating. But the machine at the center of the film can extract, record, and play your pure, true memory. So the idea is that it is exactly as it happened. So we kind of, upon it uncovers sort of, some of the revelations for lots of the different characters in the film when they're faced with the actual truth of their past rather than the past that they've imagined for themselves.
Talk about these very important performers that you have in this film, and of course kind of in the foreground, or not having seen the film yet, but the two characters that are kind of the genesis of the story in Martin Donovan and Julie Ormond's characters. Talk about those performers and then moving into this continuing relationship that you have with Peter Dinklage and how those three performers, and of course many others in the frame as well.
Well, I mean, I wrote it specifically for Peter Dinklage. The whole thing started with kind of scribbles on a journal of this idea. I sat down with him for dinner. He lives in New York, I live in LA, so we got together a few years ago, and I said, this is kind of what I'm thinking. Even at that dinner, he started telling me memories, and I was writing them down, and we incorporated some of them into the film. So it was written and crafted specifically around Peter. Martin Donovan plays the scientist, the psychology scientist that invents the machine, and he's basically found dead, 10 minutes into the film, and Peter has to investigate. Peter steals the machine and the memories, and sort of begins an investigation into how Gordon died, Martin Donovan's character, and also lots of things about Peter's past come up.
And I guess that was one of the maybe a little bit simpleton questions I wanted to ask, but in seeing these images, and we'll watch in just one moment, but seeing this amazingly expressive face that we've come to know so well, thinking about, of course, it begs the question: are his intentions pure? It sounds as though they're very well unknown.
They're very well unknown.
At the
He's
beginning.
very much a mysterious kind of. I imagine him as this sort of a bit of a noir memory detective, but he definitely has a different agenda than you think. And but the thing is the reason it's for Peter, and I feel like Peter is, the only actor that comes to mind for me that could do this is because we don't know his intentions. You need an actor that still holds your hand through all that and doesn't keep you at a distance, And some actors, as great as they are, you're watching them rather than kind of, with them. And Peter very much allows you to be with him, even though you don't exactly know why he's doing what he's doing.
Interesting parallel that in reading just a little bit, that Martin Donovan has such a close relationship over many, many years with Hal Hartley, an important filmmaker.
Yes.
And here is you and Mr. Dinklage.
Yeah.
What was your celebrity name? I can't remember. I read it.
Dinklansky was
Dinklansky.
Dinklansky. Yeah, it just rolls off the tongue. So it's just like it's a horrible mess of a combination. But yeah, we have a good relationship, and we think a lot alike. And I mean, when you make a film of this size and scale, in terms of you have no time, no money, and Peter and I really have a communication that doesn't need to use a lot of words. So I'll finish the take, I'll look at him, I'll say, yeah, and he'll say, yeah, okay, I got it, and you just kind of roll right through. And it's not like that with all the other actors, because you kind of need to talk things through between each take and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we Peter's, we have another project in the works, and
Great.
I will continue to kind of come up with more for him to do.
Fantastic. Should we take a bit of a look?
Yeah, let's do it.
Rememory. And of course, there are logistics, and like you were saying, you're working very, very hard with time constraints and all of those things. But talk about, from the beginning of the process, how you envisioned capturing this idea of what we're seeing, these visuals. We're so used to this just unstopping images coming at us, moving images coming at us nowadays. Talk about the process of turning that into
the memories
the
themselves.
feeling, and the
well,
feeling.
I mean, because the machine extracts the true, pure memory right from the get-go, it was important to me that I wasn't going to try to hyper-stylize these things, because that's, you see all the time in movies, dreams, flashbacks, it's like, it's warped, you're going through a tunnel,
there's
there's
a whole genre of shots and everything.
Yeah, and that was, I was saying absolutely none of that, and it's got to be kind of hyper-real, vivid, it sort of just washes over you. So we made the decision, we shot the memories on a different camera, then we shot the main unit stuff, and the memory camera essentially was much more handheld and allowed us to be kind of up close, in, wide, and be into this world. And then once I was in post, I've warped each one in such a way it doesn't affect the sort of the crystal nature of the image, but it makes you feel a little bit more inside of it. It wraps around you a little bit more. And then the main unit stuff, the sort of the story, we shot very classically, very kind of timeless, used really old lenses that were kind of rehoused in the 80s, but to give it its own look that didn't feel too modern, too contemporary, too crisp.
Sure.
So that when you kind of cut,
and we're sensitive to that now.
We are. I mean, we're so sensitive to it, and I think exactly what you said is true, which is like, you're just, it's a daily barrage of imagery from everything you interact with, and things, you watch a little like web blip that has dinosaurs running through. So there's no kind of big scale, small scale anymore. I think there's just, people are just inundated with it. So it's about connecting to the imagery and making that imagery evocative rather than spectacle,
And I'm guessing that perhaps you saw that as a challenge to relish, to be able to take what, and maybe we're looking at the present in future tense of the opposite of Rememory is writing this film and envisioning into the future and creating the images before they exist.
Yeah. I mean, that part's fun, but I think in a way, like if you start, if you're making a movie about memory, then your daily life leading up to that becomes about sort of looking at all the little moments and what stand out, and also trying to remember things that stand out. You go to a funeral or something like that, and the thing you might remember from the funeral is a woman's scarf, not anything, not the priest's speech, not any of those things. It's like, and so it's about trying to define why things kind of stick in our brain, and not making all memories these big dramatic things, because they're not. We all have sort of random. I have no idea why I remember that, but it's there. So yeah, it was fun, but I think they're all point of view, so there's strict rules to them, which also helps, because it doesn't just production was very funny, because they could not. It was every time we'd go over the memories, and then we shot about 200 of them while we were shooting the film. If it was a memory of Peter Dinklage's, for example, in the film, or Sam, his character, they would have on the call sheet him being there. And I was like, it's point of view. Peter Dinklage is not going to be there on the day. It's point of view. Like people couldn't kind of get through. I'm like, you're not in your memory.
I felt a little of that as I was beginning to kind of get ready for this conversation.
Yeah, you're not in it, but but it's yeah. So there were a lot of conversations about that stuff.
They say that around here at Park City Television. Yeah, Terry, you're not in the frame.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So premiere tonight.
Yeah, premiere tonight. It's all coming together.
What time are you guys going to be?
First time an audience is seeing the film is tonight.
Wow.
We're going to be at the library at 9 p.m.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's the first time we're all going to, everyone's there for a Q&A afterwards, and everyone's excited and anticipating the unleash of the baby into the world.
Well, and we feel likewise, as we say this, as I'm sure you know, this is a film that a lot of people are talking about. I think in an abstract but very specific way, it does sort of speak to the times we're living in, and we look very much forward to seeing it. Mark,
excellent.
Thank you
very much for having me.
Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful rest of your festival,
and
best wishes for
Thanks
success
very much.
with
Thank
the film.
you. Thanks
The film is Rememory, tonight at the library, 9 p.m. Include it in your festival screening plans. We'll be right back after this.